highly delighted that His Excellency, Mr. President himself, is here along with the adorable First Lady, Ajia Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, to flag off this program. And what do we aim at achieving? One, open up discussion on family issues with reference to marriage, divorce, parenting, guardianship, and other personal matters. Sensitize parents, religious community and community leaders, government officials, and all relevant stakeholders to their responsibilities and obligation towards mitigating marital crises and family problems in Muslim societies, and identify critical marital issues that are confronting the Muslim Ummah. Share experiences of the collaborative work between the Nigerian Supreme Council, is MESH, that is an agency of the Supreme Council called MESH, that is Mission for Education, Social and Health, and Future Assured Initiative on Marriage, Education and Marital Counseling. Open up channels of interreligious dialogue on how to use common religious values of Christianity and Islam to strengthen national understanding through family ethos. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is based on these overarching aims and objectives that the repositioning the Muslim family for national development has been chosen. We are confident that fruitful and constructive resolution shall be reached. I want to thank you most sincerely, Your Excellencies, eminent guests and dignitaries, brothers and sisters in Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My program, sir. Thank you very much, Prof. I will not complain about the protocol. Matriculation should come before marriage. And under that consortium, the couple should adorn themselves with the raiment of taqwa and patience in order to have harmony and avoid discord. Next on the agenda is the chairman of the occasion, our father Amir al-Mu'mineen, His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto and President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. All what I said, there is exception to the general rule.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم. Your Excellency, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, the First Lady, and our own sister, the President of the Senate, distinguished Excellencies, Governors here present, or representatives, my most distinguished Royal Fathers, especially the Oni of Ife, Sarkin Kano, distinguished brothers and sisters in Islam, other distinguished Nigerians here present, and those watching on this live program, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm supposed to be the chairman of this program. The last speaker was supposed to be the one to give welcome address, but he completely took my speech and gave it to you. And the problem is when you get a professor to speak and give him 5 minutes, it's not really possible. So I'd like to adopt Professor Oloyede's welcome remarks as my opening remarks, but just add in a very short in some few short paragraphs the importance of this conference today. First, I would like to thank the First Lady for her passion to uplift the standard of living of an average Nigerian, especially the downtrodden. In the last 5 years or 4.5, we've seen how far she has gone. And this conference holding today was not really designed to hold on 20th February, but on 11th by Mr. President himself, who happened to be present when we were having this discussion, planning this program. And Mr. President got so excited. And he requested the First Lady and myself to allow him to be personally present because of the importance of the things we are going to discuss. And I used to tell people, I've seen the passion in the voice of Mr. President when we were discussing this issue with the First Lady, especially the issue of Almajiri, because he's so concerned about that. And the numerous social problems facing this country, especially the northern part of the country. As the professor said, it was supposed to be an Islamic forum, but we said no. Nigeria of over 200 million people, equally divided between Christians and Muslims, with some families having Christians and Muslims within the same family. You see a husband Muslim, a wife Christian, and things like that. There's no way we could divide ourselves and act as one faith. And we felt, yes, we should bring in everybody to be part of this program. And those watching this program live, I think should know and hold this conference the highest esteem as one that really designed to bring all Nigerians together and closer, irrespective of religious or ethnic backgrounds of any of all of us. Mr. President, I've said it so many times, and the Murshid of National Mosque, in his opening prayer that turned out to be something else, more than a prayer, he was even telling us what we should be doing about implementation of resolutions reached at this particular program. We have said it so many times that we are not short of recommendations or resolutions passed at various conferences, at various places, at various fora. But what we lack definitely is implementation. We hardly implement what we agreed to do. Mr. President, as the Commander-in-Chief, as a retired general, and I know you are not tired, I think you should give marching orders to the governors of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to implement decisions reached at this conference and other conferences. If not, you have that big stick to wield on any of the governors who refuse to do A, B, C, D as you instruct him to do. And as the Commander-in-Chief, like Jerry Gana used to say, you chiefly command well. And I believe we must pass that stage of meeting together, this high-level meeting, come out with excellent recommendations of how to solve our problems, and then go home and sleep. We must start solving our problems, because nobody from any part of the world will come and solve our own problems for us. No matter how big a country is, it's not bigger than Nigeria. No matter how big an individual is, how educated the person is, how powerful he is with nuclear weapons and whatever, he's not bigger than Nigeria. We must know that. So Nigeria first, and we sit together and solve our problems ourselves, because we know what the problems are. Issues of drugs, issues of high rate of divorce amongst our couples, very big. It's a serious issue that concerns all of us. Why do we have these high divorce rates? Why do we have so many people not married? Social issues that are really at the top of the agenda of First Lady must be looked into, and we want to assure you, Her Excellency, we are with you. Today is 20th February, less than 48 hours. When you marked a particular year, I won't say, because ladies don't say their ages, but it was all over the newspapers. And I want us to see next year, inshallah, you call us back to this hall to now take stock of what you achieved in the last 1 year. That's from this date, when you are marking a particular special year in the world, which we all pray for you to surpass that. After getting that year, you double it and double it again. So by the time you are 150, High Excellency, you are smiling. It's a prayer because you are our sister and we feel for you, we respect you, and we are very happy with what you are doing for this country, and we'll continue to support you. So let's see how we can implement some of these programs that you come up with. We're always ready and willing. Just call upon us as you did this program, and we will be with you, inshallah. Finally, I would like to thank all of you who travel from far and near to be in this hall. But personally thank Mr. President for insisting that he wants to attend this program personally. Because it was earlier fixed for 11th February. But when he realized he was supposed to go to African Union Summit, we had to push it forward to this date because he wanted to be personally present. And today we'll hear some very strong words from him, words that will really cushion the problems of Nigerians, because when a leader speaks in a very positive manner, those following will now have that hope, yes, all is not lost. And we want to say all is not lost. Forget about the doomsday, say those who predict doomsday and whatever. Nigeria is a great country. Nigeria will continue to be a great country. It will always be a great country, no matter what happens. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence. Commending the First Lady, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Hajia Aisha, and wishing for her to live many years, Ameen, and to start taking stock from this moment in time. Whatever has been discussed and plans are made, recommendations are also made in this and other forums at the behest of His Excellency the President. Governors must make sure that they are implemented. And may we be here next year to take stock of what has been said. What have we achieved in all the proposals and recommendations that we are likely to get from this conference. Thank you very much, Your Eminence. And no law applies there, but alhamdulillah, the time he allotted to himself by himself was really very succinct and generous. Thank you, Your Eminence. The next to speak will speak for 15 minutes. Leadership as stewardship and guardianship, the role of governors and local government chairmen on repositioning the Muslim family and mitigating marital crisis. Al-Majiri, direct and remote causes, challenges and solution. He will speak, inshallah, very briefly because he has 15 minutes. It is said that the mosquito clung on the body of the bee because the bee was making buzzing, making noise. And after some time, after clinging on the body and biting repeatedly the bee, the mosquito said sarcastically, "I hope now you have learned some lessons, and I hope I've not been such a petulant." And the bee looked at the mosquito and said, "Oh, really? I was not aware that you are on my body and I'm immune to malaria. Welcome, Sarkin Kano, Alhaji Muhammadu Sanusi II, to speak on this topic. Your Highness."
Well, I don't know if Imam Abu Bakr means I'm the mosquito or the bee. I certainly hope you'll explain that to me when we have our side conversation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammadin ibn Abdullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Your Excellency the President, Your Excellency the wife of the President, Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been asked to speak on these two important topics which are, to my mind, interrelated. And the topics about which I've spoken and debated over the last 2 or 3 decades, as is known. Let me begin by thanking His Eminence and the First Lady for giving us this opportunity to share some thoughts on the role of governments in dealing with these problems. Because we do know what the problems are, especially among the Ummah. We do know, those of us who deal with communities every day, what we deal with parents forcing young daughters into loveless marriages, with arbitrary divorce, with a lack of care within marriage and after marriage. Everyday wives are complaining about husbands who claim their rights but do not take any of the responsibilities of marriage. Women being divorced with their children and husbands not taking care of those children, and those children ending up on the streets, drugs, political thuggery, violent extremism. We speak of the Al-Majiri problem as if the Al-Majiri is the problem, when in fact the problem is irresponsible fathers who leave their children on the street. And it's important that we understand part of this country than a simple fact that maybe many of us are missing. Starting 1999 and 2000, at least 12 states of the North declared that they have adopted the Sharia. The interesting thing is, in all those 12 states, apart from the Muslim criminal law, no other law has been codified. It's almost as if you're not a thief, if you don't commit assault, if you're not a criminal, then the Sharia does not apply to you. You will not go to any of those states and find a law written that talks about consent in marriage, the rights of wives and husbands. What does Islam say about domestic violence if you beat your wife? What is the right of a wife when she's divorced? What are the responsibilities of the husbands? If a child is found on the street, is the father responsible, and can the state hold him accountable? These are all Sharia. And they're far, far more important than just talking about cutting off the hand of a thief. And this is why, for me, in the last 3 years in Kano, we set up this committee that looked at this law. We put together scholars, NGOs, and Alhamdulillah, tomorrow the Sultan and myself will be submitting this law to the governor of Kano State, and if he deems it fit, he will pass it to the State House of Assembly. And this is a law that talks about the personal status of Muslims from marriage to divorce, to child rights, to inheritance, to wills and testaments. And we need to begin from there. So the question is, why is it that we have these issues? If you're allowed to marry 2, 3, or 4 wives, can you just marry 4 wives? Are there no guidelines, no regulations? If you're allowed to divorce your wife, do you just divorce your wife and there are no consequences? There's nothing that follows up? If you're allowed to marry and have children, do you just marry and have children without any responsibility? But we know that people, especially men, have taken all the privileges that they have been given without any of the responsibilities. So what has happened? Where have we failed? And I'm not going to go into the details of these ones. I see there are a number of papers that are going to be presented around these issues. But we'll begin by talking about just one verse in the Quran. And I like this analysis because it's analysis that was done by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah in his book As-Siyasat al-Shar'iyyah. And this is the verse that I think brings to bear the responsibilities of the scholars and the traditional rulers and the responsibility of the governors and the political authorities. Ibn Taymiyyah and his disciple Ibn al-Qayyim looked at this verse in Surah Al-Hadid. لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. We sent our messengers with clear signs and the scripture and the balance that the people should uphold justice. And we sent also iron with its mighty strength and many uses for mankind, so that Allah could mark out those who would help him and his messengers, though they cannot see him. Truly Allah is powerful and mighty. Now Ibn Taymiyyah says that first of all, the reason Allah sent prophets, the reason Allah revealed books is that there should be justice in this world. Justice in our relationship with our Maker and justice in our relationship with fellow human beings. And justice means that everyone is given his due right. Justice in a marriage means that if a man takes the privilege of being the head of the family, he takes the responsibility of being the maintainer and provider of the family, because Allah says, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa'i bima faddala Allahu ba'dahum 'ala ba'din wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim." Allah gave you that traditional headship of the family because you protect and maintain and provide. You cannot take that privilege and abandon the responsibility. And that covers your wives, it covers your children. Now what Ibn Taymiyyah says about this verse is that if you look at it, there are two components to it. Allah speaks about sending the messenger and sending the scriptures and sending the balance. This is a level of knowledge. For you to have justice, you must know what justice is. And this is what the Prophet says. So read the Quran, read the Hadith. What do we read there about justice? Is it in fact true that if you go through the Hadith of the Prophet, a father has a right to force his daughter without her consent into a loveless marriage? Is it in fact true that you have a right to batter your wife? Is it in fact true that you have a right to have children that you leave to go on the streets begging? Is it true that when you divorce your wife, you can just tell her, pack up your things, you and your children, leave my house, go back to your father's house, and that is the end? The answers are there in the scripture. They are there in the message of the Prophet ﷺ. And after the prophets have passed away, it is the responsibility of the traditional and religious leaders to continue saying that this is the message, this is what Islam says is justice. But the second part of the verse speaks about iron. وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. And iron and the strength that it represents, Ibn Taymiyyah says, is political power. I can spend 100 years saying that it is wrong, it is un-Islamic for a man to beat his wife. It is the governor and the State House of Assembly who will pass a law. It is the courts and the police who will make sure that if a wife is beaten, she can go and get justice. The scholars cannot do that. The emirs cannot do that. We can speak from here to the end of this year and say that if you have children, you are responsible for their maintenance. If you have a house and your wife has 5 children and you divorce her, don't tell her to go to her father's house. You leave the house for her and go to your own father's house. Because you are supposed to provide her with accommodation. Now I can say that, and the sheikhs can say that, but I do not have the power to do it. It is only the governments that will pass a law and say that any man who divorces his wife with children is obliged to provide them with accommodation and maintain his children, and there should be the law and the courts and the system that will enforce. So, the problem is these two groups of human beings are those who will stand and answer to Allah if there is no justice. Because the whole of Revelation was for there to be justice on earth. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. And those whom God has empowered with that responsibility are these two groups. We, the traditional and religious leaders, have an obligation to command justice, to say this is what is just and this is what should be done. The politicians who have political power have an obligation to put in place the processes that will make sure that this justice is complied with. And if you look at the verse in the Quran, it says, وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Political power does not just have the oppressive power of the state. It's not just about the courts and the police and the prisons. It says, وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. As governors, you also have benefits, social safety nets, economic empowerment, incentives. So when we speak about the role of governments, if we just stick to this verse, your role is to ensure that justice is established, and you will be asked. Do not think you will not be asked. All these women who are crying, for every woman who is battered in your state, and you have not protected her, wallahi, Allah will answer you. For every child who is left uncatered for, begging on the street, and you have not held his father responsible, wallahi, Allah will answer you. Because Allah says, وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ. Allah is going to mark out those who help him and help his messengers without seeing him. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kafa bil mar'i ithman an yudayya ma ya'ul." It is enough of a sin for a man to abandon those who he is responsible for their maintenance. Where did we get it that you are allowed to have a child and abandon him to beg? Where? Where did we find that you are allowed to marry wife number 1, wife number 2, wife number 3, wife number 4, and leave them hungry? Who gave you that right? The verse that said you can marry 4 wives if you want, and if you can do justice. At the end it says, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَلَّا تَعُولُوا. That phrase was interpreted by Imam al-Shafi'i and by Zayd bin Aslam to mean that is closer that you do not have too large a family. The Prophet asked us to pray to seek refuge with Allah against jahadul bala, severity of trials. The Caliph, don't be a mosquito here. The Caliph, I'm going to round up. So, the Caliph, Omar bin Khattab, and now listen to this, it's very important, because when people talk about people not being able to maintain families just marrying, they think this is coming in 2019. The Khalifa, Omar bin Khattab, said, Jahadul bala'i, kathratul iyali, wa qillatu shay. What is meant by severity of trial is to have a very large family and little money. The Prophet asked us to pray against it. Yet somebody who is unable to feed one wife will decide that he wants to marry 4 and that God will provide for him. When the Prophet said, seek praise. Meanwhile, you have big men like the Sultan here who are afraid of taking more than one. So I have been reminded I have 15 minutes, and I'm aware that His Excellency is here. I will not go into all the issues. I've seen enough papers going to discuss divorce, domestic violence, marital discord. But if there is one thing I think we can take from here, is that the responsibility for dealing with these issues is not that of the people. It rests on 2 groups of people. We who are emirs and scholars have a responsibility to continue to speak up against this injustice. And our hope is that the people will listen. We're not hoping that people will go to jail. We're hoping that people will hear and know that it is wrong to beat your wife. It is wrong to divorce her arbitrarily. If divorce comes, you should maintain your children. If you have children, you should feed them and educate them. If you are too poor to feed your children, please go out and beg. Don't send them to go and beg. You go out. We're hoping that people will listen. But we're also hoping that if people choose to ignore, if someone decides that he's going to batter his wife, that there will be consequences. We're hoping that we'll stop treating Al-Majire as criminals. When you see a young boy on the street, roaming the street, you say, where is your father? You go and arrest the father, not the boy. Because the father was the one responsible for him. In one of the hadith, and this is my final one, where the Prophet talks about the need for sadaqah and says, begin with your family, he ends up with saying, the wife will say, tut'imani aw tutallikani. The servant will say, tut'imani wasta'malani. And the son will say, tut'imani liman tatrukani. The wife will say, you either feed me or you divorce me. In other words, if you are married to her, you must feed her and maintain her. The servant will say, you feed me, then you make me work. You can't have a servant and make him work when you have not given him food. You can't make him work when he's sick and you've not given him health. And the son or the daughter will say, you feed me, to whom do you abandon me? You are not allowed to abandon your child to the street. You are supposed to maintain him. If you cannot maintain a wife, don't marry her. If you cannot maintain a child, do not give birth to him. If you cannot maintain a servant, do not employ him. And if you choose to, it is for our governors to make sure there are consequences. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.
The round of applause I will not complain about. But I would also want Allahu Akbar to be chanted. Allahu Akbar. Now I know who is the bee. Because the mosquito and its biting was so insignificant that the bee did not even know they were there or what they were doing. Your Highness, thank you very much. May Allah reward you. We need this type of voices to be speaking. Because he said, quoting that verse, the reason why Allah sent emissaries and his scriptures is for justice to be established on earth. Seeing Al-Majiri leads you to the irresponsible father. Coercing daughters into loveless marriages is not part of justice. Misogynism should be punished by those in authority. Thank you very much, Your Highness. The next item, and I hope the symbolism and the message is apparent and clear. If I would be lurking around the royal territory when His Eminence was speaking and doing something close to sacrilege by trying to stop Sarkin Kano, when they talk, you do not stop them. So any other person that will come from the list of people who would give the goodwill messages, I will be very, very strict. And I think my paper is gone. Can I have a copy of the program? One of the papers. I wouldn't say that the bee took it along with, but really I cannot see it. If I pronounce the name correctly, no, I think the Executive Secretary of UBEC will be the first to give the goodwill message. Sir, you have 2 minutes. And if he's not around, I can move to the next person. Oh, okay. Sir, you have 2 minutes and strictly so.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the First Lady, His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto. If I don't mention that name, I'll be in trouble. And as advised by our host, the other distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present. Mine is just a word or two to first and foremost express our deep appreciation to the First Lady for partnering with the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs on this very important issue, the issue of repositioning the Muslim family for national development. And I think it's an important exercise that those of us in the education sector, and particularly the universal basic education sector, feel highly elated for the issue of values in our system and in any society is such a fundamental issue that any nation has to take very seriously. The family is, of course, the source of these values, but subsequently, the school system should also play its role in ensuring that it helps in the upbringing of children, it helps in imparting values, it helps in building the discipline required for our children, for the future generations of Nigerians to develop as responsible human beings and responsible citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The second point is to express our commitment to partnering with Future Assured, as well as with our traditional institution and other stakeholders, including the state governments, in ensuring that in the next few years we take the necessary steps required to address this problem, the problem that we keep on referring to as the Al-Majiri problem in Nigeria. It is a problem that is localized in specific areas. And it is our belief that with the cooperation of relevant stakeholders at the federal level, with the cooperation of our governors, with the cooperation of our traditional rulers, and we have met with the traditional rulers so many times on this particular issue of how do we get together, each and every relevant stakeholder to be on the same page and to begin making the required progress. Not about complaints. We have to stop complaining. It's about the action required. And that's why we feel very happy, isn't it, today that, Future Assured coming with the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is beginning this process. And to assure you that at least on our side in terms of UBEC, we are doing quite a lot in this area. And those who have been associated, actually know that, particularly working with stakeholders at the local level. We need to build a very resilient system that can be sustainable. We are not out for the publicity in terms of making noise about this, about that, but the issue of putting in place the kind of building blocks that can have a robust Al-Majiri system put in place, that will serve Nigeria, would serve the Muslim communities, and would be responsive to the needs of the 21st century. And I believe with that commitment coming from this meeting, with a commitment coming from our traditional rulers and our executive governors here and the ministers, is something that is achievable. And I hope and pray that bi'Iznillah, we are going to achieve this particular feat. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Dr. Hamid Baboyi, Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commission. Thank you very much, even though he exceeded the 2 minutes. Dr. Sarigne Magueye, if I pronounce the name correctly, President, West African College of Surgeons, Senegal. Yes. Bejo. Yes, 2 minutes.
I will be. I will try to speak surgically. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari, Grand Commander of the Federal of Nigeria, allow me to stand on existing protocol to fit in the 2 minutes that was given to me. But allow me too to introduce a new colleague in this room. A new colleague because inducted fellow of the West African College of Surgeons 2 days ago. He is a new surgeon with right to perform surgery but without scalpel. His Eminence, Dr. Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, Sultan of Sokoto, is now fellow, you should know it all, of the West African College of Surgeons, so he can start operating from now. I am Professor Sorin Gay, and pen of wax. The college has been founded in Nigeria in 1960 and is celebrating 60th anniversary in Ibadan, in Abuja here. Allow me to thank His Excellency President Buhari for commissioning the college secretariat in Lagos last year, providing land to the college for the purpose of training and capacity building in Abuja, being installed as Grand Patron of the 60th anniversary and the foundation layer of the Uwe land, and supporting the conference financially. Thank you, Mr. President. Our college is well structured and keen to engaging with the Islamic leaders throughout the West African sub-region to repositioning the Muslim family for social development. In this regard, our college and our sister colleges will consider as priority number one how to capture demographic dividend to strengthen family well-being. Our college will especially explore avenues to empower women and as well as youth. That means to strengthen social cohesion. As you know, one of the most harmful conditions to women in the sub-Saharan region is obstetric fistula. And obstetric fistula is caused by obstetric labor and is mostly due to early marriage and early pregnancy and no assistance during childbirth. And Nigeria only is carrying more than 2/3 of the burden of obstetric fistula in all sub-Saharan Africa, where we have about 30,000 new cases a year. The Islamic community should be instrumental to addressing the social determinants of health. Thus, we will reduce the maternal and child mortality and morbidity in scaling up with our colleges emergency obstetric care programs. And our college will stand by you in this endeavor. Shukran, merci, thank you very much.
Merci for keeping to the time. The second is the Oni of Ife, Your Imperial Majesty.
I thought you will say you will stop me for spending more than 2 minutes. His Eminence reminded me that he dare not stop me. Your Excellency, the President of our dear country, Federal Republic of Nigeria, and his amiable wife, the mother of our dear country, the President of the Senate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my fellow brothers that are traditional rulers that are here, it's indeed a great pleasure that I'm here today to talk about a very important topical issues that is bothering each and every one of us in this country. On a lighter note, Serikin Kano mentioned that Sultan was afraid to get another wife. But indeed, he was afraid to talk about the number one citizen of our dear country. Mr. President, because he's a good leader that we should all emulate, and is leading by example. Also, all the members of the Sojian Society, please be very careful of whoever you give awards to. You gave Sultan of Sokoto that, confirm it. Sultan called me immediately that now I can operate on you now. Please be very careful. Talking seriously, there is a problem in our country, and we should face it. Enough of us talking and talking and talking. We should all join hands to walk the talk. I want to appreciate what Future Assured, being led by our dear mother, the First Lady of this country, doing and trying to put together. The problem of our margeries is not only the problem of a particular section in this country. It's a problem of each and every one of us. Like Serikin Kanu said, we shouldn't blame them. We should blame the people that are bringing them to this world. It is very important that we look at other ways and means of how to better the lot of their life. I remember a very, very deep and very interesting story. In 2010, before I became Oni of Ife, I was in the private sector. And I was privileged to join our current Mr. President to experience a couple of campaigns in the north, myself and Pastor Bakari and the entire team. It was a very successful campaign because at some point we couldn't even move. Everywhere was blocked. Everybody kept shouting, "Say Baba, say Baba, say Baba." Immediately after the campaign, Mr. President came out and asked all of us a question. I was privileged to listen to him. He said, "What did we see in the faces of all these people shouting, 'Say Baba, say Baba'?" Pastor Bakari then said, "They all saw happiness." And Mr. President said, "No." And he threw it open. And everybody kept saying, they saw joy seeing you. And Mr. President said, "No." And all of us couldn't answer the question to what Mr. President asked us. Everybody now said, "What do you think they saw?" Do you know what Mr. President said? He said, all in their faces, what they were seeing and saying was just immediate solution has come for them. That was what they were giving expression. It's not about healing me, but they think and they know that immediate solution for them has come. So I'm not surprised for the First Lady and the people planning this event talking about providing solution to this our problem. And Mr. President is very interested in being part of it because that has been his passion for a very long time. Back in 2010, about over 10 years ago. Another thing, we all know Vision 2020 in Nigeria that happened over 20 years ago. In the mid-90s, it was launched in this country, and all of us said 2020 is still long. It is still long. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are now in 2020. It will soon be over. What have we achieved over the last 20-something years talking about the same problem? To me, enough of us talking, enough of us deliberating and debating it. It's now about to provide solutions. From my own side, few solutions that I will prefer. What Serikin Kanu said, I'll buttress on that point, is I'm happy the Senate President is here. We need to take it very seriously. We need to promulgate laws that will take fathers, especially fathers, to be very responsible. And you can even link it to BVN. We know that the world is a very global village now. Everything is digitalized. You have to link it to the BVN of all those irresponsible fathers providing babies that are not needed, that will be a menace to the society. if we start to take them seriously in every responsibility of what they do, if you cannot confiscate their assets, confiscate their bank accounts, make life miserable for them, make life ungovernable for them, so that they will be very serious and we will start having less issue of bad control. I want Mr. Senate President to look into this. The very first time there's a good alignment between the executive and the legislative arm of this country. Let us be serious. Let us work towards this kind of solution. Also, in our religious centers, mosque, we are all going to pray to God there. It's very important for us to revere God. But we need to look at things in a different manner. Nigeria is a very peculiar problem. We have a very peculiar problem. We need peculiar solution. My suggestion will be, if we can have economic initiatives that after prayers, our clerics, our traditional rulers can actually come up with initiatives that will be providing a lot of solutions in terms of economic importance to all these Almajiris. It's very important for us not to just think that you have to just be praying to God alone. If you pray to God and you don't have anything to back it up, it's in the holy book of Quran, it's in the holy book of Bible, and all the holy books in the world, it is tantamount to destroying a particular community. It's not all about going to pray. It's about what value are you providing. It's very important for us to know that we should tweak it and let all our clerics know that as they're preaching, they need to preach what economic importance is to all these people that we are calling social menace for our country. Another thing is, in the north now, we thank God for this diversity of our nation. What we have discovered in the north is very, very positive, a welcome development. Mr. President, when you're trying to allocate those assets in terms of oil and gas that has been discovered in the north, all the people that are players in that field, compel them that you will take some from their hand in the south. They will be forced to go to the north to develop those assets, and by so doing, they will be established there, so that you will spread development up north. It's not only about infrastructure. There are several infrastructure. I remember that some people will say stomach infrastructure. It is still part of infrastructure. You have to be very well in everything you're doing. It's all only about roads. It's not only about creating rails. We have to support education very, very aggressively. We have to give awareness very, very aggressively. A lot of these recruits of Boko Haram, they probably think they're doing business. They don't even know what they're doing. They think it's just a normal thing that they're doing. But we need to give them that exposure, give them that orientation, and let them know that they have a very solid impact to play in nation building. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are all here because of our dear nation. That is what is common among all of us. Anybody that is here that doesn't like this country, I want that person to raise up his hand or her hand. I cannot see anybody. So that means we all love our country and we want this country to continue in unity, peace, and progress. Before you leave here today, take a piece of paper, write something down that will provide solution, because two good heads are better than one. We'll gather it together. I will personally volunteer to supervise it. We'll gather everything together and hand it over to Future Assured. God bless our country, God bless our president, and God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Kabesi, you will not be stopped. Thank you very much for these inspiring words. Actually, the speech moves one to tears, especially on the question that the president asked them. Whoever thinks that the president does not care or does not know, this is a lesson for all of us. And may Allah strengthen and succor the president to fulfill the promise he has seen in the eyes of the multitude that was chanting, "Say Baba." Let the solutions be found. The next to speak is the chairman of Governors' Wives Forum. Oh no, is that the Minister of Women Affairs? Pauline. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and his dear wife, the mother of the nation, Dr. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You can hear from my voice that this is a very, very sober gathering, and I want to start by thanking the chairman of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for initiating this program that has brought all of us here today. And the key, most important people to address this topic are all here. Our religious leaders, thank God, the Sultan, being a royal father and a religious leader, is leading by example. The Emir of Kano has said it. The president is leading by example. We thank God for that. The Emir of Kano has said it all. And my brother, the executive secretary of UBEC, has said it all. Women and children are the victims of this gathering. And they saw hope in you, Mr. President. And by the grace of God, you will not leave the office without restoring that hope to the, to the downtrodden. The common man and the woman are those that brought you into office. I thank God with the great and wonderful turnout of women gathered here today. Good number of governors' wives are all here. Form 1 are here in full number. My ministry is working closely with Form 1, and we are committed to address the issue of the girl-child education. I'm happy the chairman of the Governors Forum, my dear Governor Lalong, is here. This is a serious issue before your council, because the states that are most affected are the northern states. And it is a shame on us, a big shame on us, because if we really love Mr. President, we must address the issue of our children, the out-of-school children, and our children that litter on the street. The statistics, if Dr. Boboyi was to be allowed to show us the statistics of the number of out-of-school children, the disparity between the North and the South is frightening. We are sitting on a time bomb. I want to appeal to all our leaders gathered here, our religious leaders, our traditional leaders. You are the ones that we are looking up to help us out of this issue. The Child's Rights Act has to be domesticated in all the 36 states. It is sad to note that all the other states, the 36 states in the Federation, 26 have domesticated this Child's Rights Act. The remaining 10 states are all in the North. I don't want to announce the names of those states, but I'm reaching out to those governors. It is heartbreaking that we still have not addressed the issue of the Child's Rights Act. Until that issue is addressed, we are only paying lip service to the Al-Majiri issue. Education is key. And I repeat, education is key. Without education, we wouldn't have Mr. President sitting here. It is education that has given wisdom to the First Lady to do what she's doing. It is education that is helping the Emir of Kano, who is the champion of the girl child education. at any time he speaks, everybody must really sit up. At the United Nations last year, Mr. President was there, when the Emir of Kano addressed the nation, the United Nations General Assembly on the girl-child education, we were moved. We all know the truth. The Emir has said it. We are known to be a very prayerful nation, but what is lacking is godliness. We pray, but we don't implement what we know about the Quran and the Bible. We must, I'm appealing to all of us, to have the fear of God, to be sincere in all that we do. Women have suffered enough, children have suffered enough. And if we want this country to be healthy, the only solution, Mr. President, is to empower the woman to ensure that the girl child goes to school. If the women are empowered, our children will go to school. If we want to change the economy, the three cardinal points of Mr. President is to address corruption, is to address the issue of security and also the economy. These three cardinal issues can only be addressed if the woman is empowered. If the woman is empowered, the children will go to school. I am begging all of us that what we are doing is for posterity. We must have the love of God. If we love God and we are sincere in what we read in the Quran and in the Bible, we must do the right thing. Let us not just be prayerful nation, let us be godly people. Let us have the fear of God. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And the ingredients for peace is fairness and justice. Let's be fair to our women and children. Let's be just and let's be godly. I thank you all and may God help us.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister. Let us work according to the dictates of the scripture and to lead by the example of His Excellency and the President. Now, the chairman, Governor's Wives Forum, that is the First Lady of Niger State. I said chairman, yes, not chairperson. Chairman.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and our Mother, the First Lady, His Eminence and our Royal Fathers, His Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to commend the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the Future Assured Program for supporting the Council to open up discussions on this very important topic of repositioning the Muslim family towards taking its rightful place in the Nigerian national development aspirations. Every society has its values, and these are usually transmitted through the young ones of these family units. Parents need to give utmost priority to the upbringing of their children to become law-abiding and productive members of society. Values of integrity, discipline, honesty, and hard work are those building blocks that develop a society. And this must be inculcated from the family unit. So it is indeed appropriate that this topic is being discussed today. I want to use this opportunity to applaud the timeliness of this conversation at the critical time that we are facing with security challenges and family problems, which I believe a discussion of this sort can easily address. On the behalf of the wives of the governors of Nigeria, I want to thank Her Excellency for involving us in all her projects and bringing us together to work for the benefit of the people in our states. There are quite a number of governors' wives already who are working on the Al-Majuri projects as their NGOs, and quite a number of us are also working to see how we can get out of school children off the street. We're working closely with the SUBEB in our states, and we're championing getting those children out of school. So we are fully committed to working with the Supreme Council as well as the Future Assured Program to continue these programs. Lastly, I want to add my voice to what our Sultan has said on the importance of the law and implementing it. and also on the fact that we really have to start acting and stop talking too much. We all know it and we just need to act on it. And I sincerely pray that everything that has been said here will be implemented. And I would want to also add my voice to what our minister has said on the importance of empowering women. A society that has women who are empowered, who are educated, will only be the better for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency and Chairman, Governor's Wives Forum. The governor of Plateau State will be the next to speak, and I hope after him, the Prof also according to the program, inshallah. Your Excellency, Plateau State Governor, the law.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, from Mr. President down to everybody. Let me stand on the proper protocols. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I also had a speech, but after listening, I don't think there's any need for me to read my speech again. I will say so because let me thank His Eminence the Sultan. A few weeks ago, he was in Jos. We had a very long time talking on this topic, and he introduced and told me that there will be a function like this, and it's necessary that the governors must be there. I said, I must come. Just a few days ago, Her Excellency, the First Lady, put a call and said it is going to be very important. Mr. Governor, Chairman, Northern Governors Forum, you must come. Your Excellency, I came on behalf of all the governors. Now, I'm very happy because these were issues that we've been discussing at the Governors Forum. And each time we come to do implementation, governors will complain. Today, I think those fears have been allayed because their complaints were, one, that until we get the buy-in from the traditional rulers and also the support from the religious leaders. Today, I'm very happy. I'm the happiest person. The Emir of Kano has said it as it is. His Eminence has said it as it is. Who else from the traditional rulers? But I'm waiting for the clerics, the religious leaders. Look at the plight of this country and also say it and support Her Excellency. Sometimes they say where men are afraid to move in, women step in, and then the success will come. I thank Her Excellency for introducing this and collaborating with the Nigerian Supreme Council for taking the initiative. To me, we did something at the Governors Forum, even set up a committee to address these issues. But when the issues are coming, implementation will always be a problem. I also thank God that today the Women Affairs, our wives have taken the initiative. And they say behind every successful man is always a woman. All the wives are wives of Northern governors. If you allow them not to implement this, then you will hold yourself responsible. Because I know you have the key to the power. I don't want to say everything. So, on behalf of the Northern governors, I want to assure you, Your Excellency, that we are collaborating with you. We are already taking a decision that we are going to take 2 days in Kaduna to just deliberate on this issue. We were waiting for this, and at the end of the day, the conclusions from this venue will be part of what we will discuss in Kaduna. I think it's already very clear. It is about implementation. Let us now see which governor will not implement, because all the fears are already addressed today. And I know, we always say, all of us, that we are loyal to Mr. President. And if Mr. President will take the challenge to be here himself, it means Mr. President has already accepted, both in principle, in mind, and spirit, that it will be implemented. And so because of that, we are also going to address the issues, take decisions, and the rest is implementation. So no need to go back to any speech. We have taken enough. And I thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. And just to assure you that many of our governors are here representing. The governor of Borno is here. Kogi is here. Borno was, the Senate president is here. Because when people were saying whether to reduce from 4 to 1, I asked the Senate president, I said, what about you? And the Senate president just laughed, no answer. So I thank you very much for the initiative, Your Excellency. Thank you for the support, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We will have the Marriage Education Project documentary before the remarks of the President of the Senate. Professor Silas Ishehu, please come over. He is also the chairman of the local organizing committee for the joint hosting of this conference. Yes, Prof.
Take this one also. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Your Excellency, Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, the wife of the President, Your Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, Your Excellency, the Senate President, Your Excellencies, State Governors, Ministers, and all other distinguished personalities, this is going to be an 8-minute documentary of what we've been doing at the level of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs with the future assured about marriage, education, and counseling at various states of the Federation. Your Excellency, the documentary is first of all an evidence of the fact that this exercise has been taking place. It has been going on. But what is most instructive about this exercise, Your Excellency, is about its novelty. What we're used to in this country about activities and pet projects of wives of presidents and wives of state governors is about material empowerment, where wives of presidents and state governors try to empower families and women economically. Future Assured is doing that. But in addition to that, the novelty in this exercise is the fact that there was never a time when an attempt was made to actually address the conscience of people that are out there at the grassroots, to provide some form of value reorientation. And this is what marriage education seminars and counseling have been doing. We bring together prospective couples, young boys and girls that are about to get married, or those that are newly married, and sometimes with a mixture of even those that have been married for some relatively longer time, like 10, 15 years. We bring them together, we give them marriage education and marriage counseling. Before we do that, fact sheets are given to the participants, which contain questions, asking them to mention some of the commonest causes of conflict and quarrels and misunderstandings in families. And these are the issues that are being addressed, and these participants are being counseled. Future Assured has graciously supported with the sponsorship, while Nigerian Spring Council has been implementing. We've done that. Our Secretary General, Professor Oloyede, has mentioned the states where we have done that. His Eminence has also mentioned that, and we will see it in the documentary. From the results we have seen, Your Excellency, we believe that if state governors will also come in, they will buy into this, so that even state governors institute these kinds of marriage counseling. I think we will go a long way in solving our problems. Giving material assistance is not enough at all to solve our problems. But getting people to communicate with one another and to understand their problems and to agree on ways of solving those problems is the best approach to solving our family problems. Your Excellency, we will see that in the documentary. Assalamu alaikum. Why are those responsible?
Many couples choose to express their love by getting wedded. Unfortunately, not all marriages last till death do them part, as pronounced in their marital vows. Records show that Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, and USA have the highest rates of divorce, while Guatemala, Qatar, and Peru are at the bottom of the table. In Nigeria, divorces are hardly discussed in public. Family members are often reluctant to admit that a marriage is in trouble. Divorces are still being stigmatized. In fact, the idea of divorce is considered a taboo and unfit for public discourse. It is on record that Nigerian couples are separating more and more, with a separation rate in 2018 saw a 14% increase across the whole population. Realizing the negative effects of marriage instability and increase in divorce rates in the society, especially among the Muslim families, Her Excellency, First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Hajia Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, through her pet project, Future Assured, in collaboration with Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, is fronting a special project called Mitigating the Problems of Marriage Instability and Divorce in Nigeria. To kick off the project, 5 states in the country were selected. The states are Adamawa, Kano, Niger, Sokoto, and Osun. In these states, 2 local government areas per senatorial districts were focused. The target beneficiaries of the program are young adults of marriageable age, newly married, both young and old, a project designed for Muslims and non-Muslims.
Gaskiya mun amfana sosai. Balantane ni wanda aka ce ina cikin waɗanda za su yi koyaswa, za su koyar da jama'a akan zancen aure da yadda kuma za a gyara aure ko auren yana son mutuwa.
Adamawa State became the first port of call where marriage fact sheets were distributed to participants and their responses to quiz evaluated, after which clusters were formed for group work.
Men think that they are the ones that can take care of everything.
From Adamawa, the train moved to Kano, where the coordinator led beneficiaries through the processes of the projects. The use of local languages such as Hausa, Fulfulde, Nupe, and Yoruba to communicate helped participants understood the sessions better.
The essence of this number is to have a unit in Niger State where we can call and have solutions to our problems.
After going going through Niger and Sokoto, the team moved to Osun State, southwest Nigeria.
ètò yìí tí wọ́n ṣe èmi rí bí nǹkan tó dáa, ètò tó jẹ́ pé ó yẹ kó máa wáyé lóòrèkóòrè ni láti máa fún àtọ̀dọ́ àtèwe àtàgbà láti máa fún wa ní ìṣítí torí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìdílé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbéyàwó ló jẹ́ pé tó bá yẹ pé wọ́n láǹfààní láti máa rírú ètò báyìí lọ àbí láti máa gbọ́rú nǹkan báyìí ni ẹbí yẹn kò bá ti ṣubú ìbá tí máa wó ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìdílé ló tún mì lẹ́sẹ̀ ló jẹ́ pé kò sí tán fẹ́ ṣe sí lẹ́yìn pé ìfẹ́ ká yóò bú mi ìfẹ́ ká yóò sọ pé kí lórí tó lọ gbégbèsè yìí nítorí pé kí ni kò sí àwọn bó ṣe yẹ ká gbé tó pé ká lọ sírò àwọn ètò báyìí ká gbọ́ pé kí làwọn ìgbésẹ̀ tá gbọ́dọ̀ pé ká tó lè di lọ́kọláya.
Most participants have realized the essence of marriages, factors that can break them, and have also decided to make efforts to improve their unions.
The husband and the wife should be tolerant of each other, and they should be supportive of each other, and they should be having dialogue among them whenever there's issues so that they can resolve it amicably.
My concern is not the quantity of knowledge that they receive. No, it is the implementation of what they received.
At the end of the workshops, findings show that majority of the women complained of poor finance, conflicts, and different ambitions, among others, as factors responsible for the challenge.
To wannan kyau babu addini in kyau din ya zama kyau kuma ba addini ba kai kadai ne akan ta ba.
Test yourself for HIV, test yourself for sickle cell, do genotype testing so that you will know if the children you are going to bring forth will be at risk.
To hakkilo ma da vodi a wodi tarbiya boddum aya habe andama ma warta ban hatun be danyina.
Other findings shows the wish of the women to be economically empowered to reduce their total dependence on their husbands. Most of the participants showed their satisfaction and appreciation for the opportunity given them to retrace their steps and have the positive behavior about their marriages.
An samu an wayar ma mata kai suna iya su expressing matsalan su don sun ba mu waya the special line nasu ne.
We need a church program in this society. There must be continuity in this program.
Ba program bane wanda ya kamata a ce ya kare. Ya kamata a ce an ci gaba.
We have no regrets that we have met Form 1 and Noma, Form 1 and MSSN.
Unfortunately, we end up where we are. But the key issue is that we should always seek Allah's support and intervention. One of the key issues we can do, shine taqwa, tsoron Allah, bin Allah.
The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is optimistic that the project will further be funded so as to carry out the counseling in other local government areas of the operational states and also other states of the Federation.
Your Excellency, Ganiya Koriji, seeing is believing. We have seen that it is a very robust exercise. It does not only contain instructions about religious do's and don'ts, but it also contains economic counseling, medical counseling, and even psychological counseling. So it's very effective. Future Assured has taken the step forward, Your Excellency, and like His Eminence has said, let the state governors also come into this. Let them also institute this marriage education counseling. We have seen that in other climes and it is working effectively. In Indonesia, in every ward, there is a marriage counseling office where couples that are about to be married are brought together and they are taken through marriage counseling session and they are given certificate, and eventually the imams will not contract their marriage until they show an evidence that they had gone through this marriage counseling exercise. And I think if we take something like that and domesticate it, it's going to solve more than 50% of our problems. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Salisu Shehu, Deputy Secretary General, Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and Chairman of the Local Organizing Committee. Mr. Chairman, the Sultan, Your Excellency, the President, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Osun State, Mr. Adegboye Ga Oyetola, if I pronounce the name correctly, has been around and wife since the commencement of the program, actually during the national anthem period. But he stays behind because the president was already seated. I'll be calling the governor for the group photograph with the president shortly, amidst other names that I shall be calling. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Senator Dr. Ahmed Lawal, will address us. Distinguished Senator.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على نبي الكريم. Your Excellency, our dear President, Your Excellency, the wife of the President, the First Lady, the Mother of the Nation, the Chairman of this occasion, His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto, the President General of the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, the Chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, and other governors present here, our religious and traditional rulers present, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I will segment my remarks into two. Today is a great day for us, that the First Lady, together with Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, have organized this conference. Is a very great achievement for us. The family is central and key to any prosperous society or community. Ours cannot be different. If the family functions well, that society functions well, and reverse is the case. I listened to all the submissions, especially the ones by our traditional rulers, Sarkin Kano and Oni of Ife. I think when it comes to marriage, to how the family functions, and the associated activities of divorce and so on, I would prefer to appeal to our religious leaders and our traditional rulers to take the lead. Our people will listen more to the religious and traditional leaders in this respect. We may wonder why. Some people may even be quoting very weak or even non-existing hadith. Somebody will tell you, if you marry one wife and you have problem, add another one. Only a religious leader, or probably a traditional ruler, can take such a person out of that kind of thinking. So I will appeal that going forward, we should continue to preach to our people. If you can't marry at all because you can't take responsibility, stay and continue to fast. And if you can, marry one. If you can do more and be just, you can go to the next level. My brother, the governor of Plateau State, asked me after the introduction of His Excellency, our President, and of course the Sultan. He asked me, SP, what about you? I say, I've introduced diversity. I have more than one, I have two. And I'm happy with that. So I'm making this appeal. Politicians are always suspected. Always. Our state governors can go and introduce anything. But I can bet with my life that the success of whatever they will introduce will be severely limited if the religious and traditional leaders do not support whatever they will do all the way. Your Excellency, our President, I also believe that the issue is beyond only state governments, especially knowing fully well that today, with uncertain statistics of children out of school, some will say 11 million, some will say 14, probably even more. There is need for collaboration, partnership, and synergy between the federal government and the state governments. We need resources between the two levels of government. Truly, all the Almajiris or children out of school are in states. But we have passed the Universal Basic Education Law in 2004. And that puts responsibility on parents and wards. Professor Boboy is here. I think it's high time we start to implement the Universal Basic Education Law in Nigeria, because there is a lot of provision there. The responsibility is for parents to ensure that their children are taken to school. But because there are so many challenges with parents, little bit of luck, want, governments would have to play significant roles. And we are doing that. When we introduce, as an administration, the school feeding, is to keep those who go to school. But I think we need to take the next step. The next step is, let's implement the Universal Basic Education Law. And if we have difficulty with that, Mr. President, the National Assembly is available. And thank God, this relationship is fantastic. We expedite action. We amend to bring effectiveness and efficiency in the law. I also believe that we need to look at our civic education. At a certain level of education, primary school, there are certain things that need to be taught to our children. They need to know from the basics some of the things. These are not religious issues. These are societal, social issues. So I'm glad to be here, even though my name was not on the list of those who should give goodwill messages. But I'm glad that Her Excellency graciously gave me the opportunity to also make my remarks. And I want to assure everyone here and those who are listening and watching that on the matter of making Nigeria better, we have no reservations, we have no hesitations in supporting Mr. President to achieve all the laudable and noble goals he has set for himself and for this country. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
It's like saying the era of sabotage is over. Now the National Assembly will acquiesce and support whatever comes from the President to ensure that he succeeds in his commitment to the nation. After the next item and the one following it, I will call some names that will be on the, just behind me, behind the banner for the group photograph with the President, and then I will call other names also. Before then, Her Excellency Hajia Dr. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, the innovative initiator of the program and the Future Assured Initiative, will now address us. Your Excellency.
Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Senate President, His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto, the governors here present, the Governor of Plateau State, Borno, Kogi, and Oshun, and other representatives of other governors, the Emir of Kano and the Etsu of Nupe, the Oni of Ife, other Obas here, other chiefs, our royal fathers here, the President General of the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, the former governors that are here present, the ministers, Minister of FCT, Women Affairs and Special Duties, the ulamas, the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs members, the DG of National Orientation Agency, the President of NCWS, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to welcome you all to this very important conference, which I believe has the potential of contributing to the reduction of social vices bedeviling our society. I've had repeated meditation on some special problems of our time, especially problems of marriage, divorce, and parenting. I'm therefore optimistic that this effort will yield positive result. Today, these problems have manifested as domestic and intimate violence, drug abuse, juvenile delinquency, child abuse, and even violent crimes. The root of our social problems may lie with the gradual collapse of the institution of marriage. Marriage is the institution responsible for building a family through which the human race is bred. Family is the smallest unit of any society. A broken society is therefore a reflection of broken families within that society. A successful marriage is a function of rules and guidelines as enshrined in the holy books. The Quran has spoken abundantly on marriage. The books of Hadith have explained this in further detail. The problem is therefore not the availability of laws, but its compliance. In my effort to give effect to these issues and to share my worries and thoughts, I had a series of discussions with Islamic scholars on what can be done to turn things around. We will not relent on our collective efforts to witness a paradigm shift through better solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is the culmination of series of meetings and deliberations on the subject matters. I'm happy to let you know that I joined the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto as a major stakeholder in search for the solutions. Some of the objectives were agreed to pursue, including identifying critical marital challenges and suggesting relevant instruments for addressing them, sensitizing families and other relevant stakeholders on their specific and collective responsibilities towards mitigating marital challenges, and identifying policy matters requiring urgent attention. We have succeeded in assembling an array of Islamic scholars for further deliberations to further deliberate on these matters, with the belief that they will do justice to the issues on the table. It is my hope that outcomes from this important conference will make far-reaching recommendations, especially in the areas of marital relationship responsibilities, frequent divorce, and care for children to avoid having future vulnerable children, especially the Almajiris who are being indoctrinated into different sects that are now threatening the security and stability of our society and the nation at large. I wish to use this opportunity to express my appreciation to His Excellency the President for having time to be here, His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto, the President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, the Oni of Ife, Emir of Kano, Etsu Nupe, other scholars, the Council of Ulamas, the Supreme Council for Sharia, for Islamic Sharia, for the interest they have shown in this project. It is my hope that discussion will continue and be sustained between the Council, other bodies, governors, and my future assured initiative. Just as the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence, and the Oni of Ife has already concluded that next time, February, by next year, we are going to be here to count the successes we have recorded right from after this today's conference. And I'm happy that the Oni of Ife remembered the hope that he has seen in the eyes of our supporters. We are scared to leave this place to meet them without meeting up with some of their expectations. Though we are not going to meet up with all the expectations, but at least we'll do our best to see that we have done the basic ones, that is keeping the Almajiris off the street. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the First Lady, for that promise and commitment in line with what has been suggested by the Chairman, the Sultan, and other speakers here, so that we can have result in what we do here from the recommendations that we will have from the resource persons that are invited. I have received many papers here announcing the presence of people. Let me say that I am also directed on the way the proceedings are going, and I have explained ab initio that time was at premium and we should try our best to be as succinct as possible in our presentations. Please, if anybody is not recognized and they are here for Allah, and may Allah reward them. And maybe I take responsibility as the master of ceremonies for that omission. Let me now, with the permission of the chairman, call on His Excellency, Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, to address us. Mr. President, sir.
Thank you. Please sit down. The First Lady Hajia Aisha Buhari, the President of the Senate, Excellencies, the Governors of Borno, Kogi, Osun, and Plateau States, members of the National Assembly, members of Federal Executive Council, members of the Diplomatic Corps, chairmen and members of the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, senior government officials, distinguished royal fathers, and religious leaders, invited ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to address you on this occasion, the flagging off of the project on marriage counseling. This conference is jointly organized by the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs under the leadership of His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, and the Future Initiative, Assured Initiative, under the leadership of Her Excellency Hajia Aisha Muhammad Buhari. I understand that the essential objective of the joint effort is to find ways to reduce marital discord and rampant divorce, which has bedeviled our society. It is a project that has direct bearing on our well-being and development of our society. I appreciate the insight and thoughtfulness of the two organizations in conceiving the idea of the marriage education and counseling project. The two organizations had taken several months conducting marriage education and counseling seminars in about 5 states of the Federation before inviting us to flag off the national project. I understand that the project will be extended gradually to cover the whole country. While the tradition in Nigeria is that exercises, projects are flagged up at the point of their takeoff, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the Future Assured have presented to us an unusual way of executing projects by doing things the other way around. This assures us that as a project that is already ongoing, it will not end up with this ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the family is the primary unit of human communities. Human societies are essentially collections of family units. The primacy and centrality of the family to the survival and prosperity of human societies and their overall development cannot therefore be overemphasized. If we want to prosper as a nation, we must cherish the family and accord it the value, the respect, and indeed the sanctity it deserves. Our search for national rebirth our efforts at fighting corruption and indiscipline, and our struggle for attitudinal change must all begin from the family unit. While we appreciate the significant role of the mass media and other public enlightenment channels and outfits in propagating and promoting positive values, we just have to acknowledge the fact that all these build, after all, often the foundations that must have been laid down at home. This is what underscores the significance of this particular flag of conference and the marriage education and counseling project in its entirety. There is no doubt that the survival of families depends on matrimonial harmony and stability. If that is the case, we must as well appreciate the fact that only stable families can meaningfully make positive contribution towards building a better society and the nation. There is an urgent need for propagating and defending our family values. It is on this note that I find the theme of this flag of conference, repositioning the Muslim family for national development, timely. I congratulate the organizers of this conference. In this endeavor, our religious leaders and organizations are most important catalysts. They are the custodians of our values and of our social ideals. It is therefore commendable that the Nigerian Supreme Council, in collaboration with the Future Assured Initiative, has risen up to this challenge. I, however, wish to call on all our other religious leaders and organizations, both Christian and Muslim, to follow suit by redirecting important elements of their preachings and teachings on family issues with a view to broadening the sensitization of people at the grassroots level. On our part, we appreciate the importance of economic support and empowerment for stabilizing the family. We have been conscious of the havoc poverty is wreaking on the family. We therefore believe that poverty alleviation is central to safeguarding the integrity of our families. Our administration introduced a number of economic empowerment and poverty alleviation schemes. Some of these directly impact on families, while others have indirect effect on families through their multiplier effects. The first and most robust program is the Social Investment Program, which serves as a very broad framework for availing Nigerian families at the grassroots level different forms of economic support. We have recorded huge successes in terms of saving millions of families from distress. We have been executing conditional cash transfer and thousands of households have been touched. Our trader money and market money schemes have also been very successful. The school feeding program has assisted immensely in supporting poor Nigerian families in getting their children enrolled and sustained in school. Conversely, it has weeded millions of children from the street back to school. We will continue to do more in this direction. However, most of the challenges affecting the family fall within the mandates and jurisdictions of the state governments. In compliance with constitutional stipulations and provisions, we gave numerous support and bailouts to them to assist them in discharging these obligations and statutory mandates. It is our expectation that the state governments will rise up to these challenges and do their full parts in this social regeneration. I urge the recourse persons and participants in this conference to come up with practical recommendations that will help the federal and state governments in addressing these problems. I look forward to reading your recommendations in due course. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Resource persons are to come up with workable recommendations for curbing the problems of marital discord and divorce. During the break, the First Lady, the governors' wives, ministers, and traditional rulers will have their tea break in the holding room, and the rest of the participants will proceed to the dome where they will have the tea break. The names I will call now there is a step there from the other side, then they would come up and stay just behind where the president has made his address just now. Sheikh Abdullah Balalo, please to come up. Imam Abdurrahman Ahmad, Dr. Bashir Aliyu Omar, Professor Muhammad Tabiu, Professor Ahmad Bello Dogarawa, Professor Suleiman Abdullahi Karwai, Professor Suleiman Khalid, Professor Disu Kamor, Professor Salisu Shehu, Deputy Secretary General. Yes, please, Sheikh, keep coming. Could you further direct them, please? Yes, yeah. Professor Shehu Galadenchi, the Murshid National Mosque, please. And Professor Isaac Oloyede, Secretary General. And the names I will be calling now will be downstairs. The chairman of Governor's Wives Forum, please. She just addressed us. Niger State Governor's wife, yeah. His Royal Highness the Emir of Lafia, Justice. His Royal Highness the Etsu Nupe. His Highness Sarkin Kano, His Imperial Majesty Oni of Ife, His Eminence the Sultan and Chairman, His Excellency the Governor of Plateau State, His Excellency the Governor of Osun State. Thank you very much, sir, for your patience and understanding. Governor of Osun State. Osun? Yes, Osun State. Governor of Kogi State, Your Excellency. Governor of Borno State, Professor. Dr. Senator Ahmad Lawal, the Senate President. Her Excellency the First Lady, and Your Excellency Madugu Ubantefia. And FCT Minister, yes. And Minister for Foreign Affairs. All ministers, please. Sorry, sir.
Yes, of course. Get ready. I will announce.
The national anthem, please. The national anthem. Thank you very much. Okay, the governor's wife, please, should come forward for another photograph with Her Excellency. Governor's wives, all governor's wives. All the governor's wives, please. The governors were here.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.